Good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. This is John Paul Rye, and today I'm going to talk about a few different topics and just generally where the state of the Star Wars franchise is, which is a topic that's been covered, but it's changing so rapidly that there's so much news and stuff to keep talking about. And I want to cover a little bit of Rian Johnson's new trilogy, this possible Kathleen Kennedy replacement, Kiri Hart, and a little bit about Steven Colbert. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about Kiri Hart first because I have the least to say about her in detail, and she is supposedly a possible replacement for Kathleen Kennedy, and the thing I've been trying to tell everybody, and even people on my side who hate the way the Star Wars franchise is now, is that Disney is not stupid. They know everything we know, and a lot of things they're doing is not because they're naive, it's not because they're out of touch, it's because it's deliberate. I can't say why, but there's a very strong suspicion I have that things they're doing is deliberate. And when they don't defend fans from people like Scott Mendelson, the shill Forbes writer, and Steven Colbert, and anybody else, and Freddie Prinze Jr., and anybody else who makes attacks on the fans, that means in some way they must condone it. Because when you have a business, you try to protect your fans who are potentially going to spend money on your products. The point is, Kiri Hart is a Stanford graduate. She's been in the business for over 10 years now, and she was a co-producer on Rogue One. She is not an idiot. I believe she's the head of the story group at Lucas right now and has been for quite a few years. She knows everything we know. Every major piece of media that gets out there, that has a large platform, she knows about. She knows the effect of that media, just like we do. So there has to be some kind of deliberate nature in the way the messages are coming through against the fans from Disney. So, the second point is, she seems as bad, if not worse than Kathleen Kennedy, because I would think that she's more in touch than Kathleen Kennedy. Well, I just made the point she is in touch, but yeah, so exactly. She's even really in touch when Kathleen Kennedy probably wasn't that in touch. She's 60 years old, and I'm sure she had ideas what was going on, but I think Kiri Hart's probably sharper than Kathleen Kennedy, and she knows exactly what's up, and apparently she never made a single statement, retracting any of the bad things that happened or defending the fans who kind of got shit on by Disney. Nothing. We hear silence from her, so she's going to be just as bad, I think. Time will tell. And next, let's move on to Steven Colbert. And the thing is, Colbert was pretty funny back in the day. Colbert got his big piece of fame from The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. So in a way, he kind of rode Jon Stewart's fame up with him, because if Jon Stewart wasn't so famous on The Daily Show, who knows, would Colbert have really made it? Because his spin-off show came from The Daily Show. The Colbert Report came from The Daily Show, so who knows? He had a little show, I think was a co-writer, co-producer or something, called Strangers with Candy, and it was pretty funny. It was, I don't think there was too much political correct garbage or pandering to a mainstream audience. From what I remember, I didn't see too much of it, but I think it was about a 50-year-old lady who went back to high school, and some gritty jokes, and better than the stuff he's doing now. So historically, I used to like Colbert, but now with his stupid trailer against white Star Wars fans, it appears, because all the fans he's making fun of are 5 white guys on the couch. So I can't like Steven Colbert. And the whole funny thing is, I keep saying over and over, and a lot of people have mentioned this, is that white people are saying bad things about whites, and it's just really weird, makes no sense. And Steven Colbert is now on the top of my shit list, along with Rian Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, probably Kiri Hart very soon, and whoever else. JJ is somewhere in the middle, I don't know. Time will tell. There's a channel I occasionally mention called Mike Zero, and he's been at this Star Wars stuff for a really long time. I've been listening to him for at least 2 years now. When he started, no, I mean not when he started, but when I started listening to him, he had about 90K subs. Now he's up to 117, so he's growing pretty fast. And I had a little issue with Mike where, you know, even up until recently, he didn't really speak his opinion. He just he made some great new stuff, and he made comments, and he gave some opinions on the content of Star Wars, but I mean, he didn't give his opinion on the state of the franchise and how Lucas treats his films and the mistakes the directors are making. He kept it pretty clean, and up until recently, he is now obviously aggravated, and he's saying things a lot more straightforward, how the political stuff is annoying, and I like to see that. I like to see that, so I just figured I'd mention him. The last thing I want to get into is a slightly older topic, but it's about how some people say, well, when the prequels came out, there was a divided fan base, and half the people hated them, and half the people liked them. It was the same thing. And this is just some bullshit the media says. And I was 20 when they came out, so it's now 2018. So teenagers and junior high school kids who are watching this drama and participating in it, and Star Wars fans, weren't really there when that was going on. And I'm going to take a wild, educated guess that they're not doing all this research and reading articles and digging up, you know, chat logs from that time. They're just kind of assuming, oh, I guess the fan base was divided at that point. And it was a very different type of division, okay? When George Lucas made the prequels, people didn't like them. That's for sure. There was a division, but people didn't hate George. George Lucas didn't get death threats. People didn't call for him to be fired. We were just kind of like, all right, George, come on, man. I guess you're getting a little old and you don't have it in you. In the same way musicians get a little old and they just can't write the same level of material as, like, their best days. And we were just like, you know, too bad. It should have been better. But nobody hated George Lucas. Nobody was like, get George Lucas out of Lucasfilms. You know, some people were like, well, I wish another company would make Star Wars. But it was more like, well, Lucas is kind of a little bit washed up. He's a little, you know, dried of ideas. That was kind of the general feeling. It wasn't like we hated him and it was these political things and this really, like, attacks on the fans. And now we feel like we're fighting back. No one felt like they were fighting George Lucas. It was very different. And the fan base really wasn't divided in the same way. And I'd even argue it wasn't really divided at all. It was divided just in the fact that some people liked it, some people didn't. It was a very normal division of opinions. And this shit here, this is drama, this is crazy. And before I wrap it up today, I just gotta mention one last channel. I know I'm name dropping a lot, but Alex Becker, he is an entrepreneur who makes software and supposedly has a multi-million-dollar company, and he also makes Star Wars videos. And he really points out why, from a business aspect, Star Wars is so bad right now, and you could clearly see by watching his videos the difference between the way the business is treated now and with Lucas, because Lucas never attacked fans, and it's just totally different right now. If you're listening up to this point, please consider subscribing. You could click my Super Ray Sue icon. We'd love to have you in the community. We're growing little by little, and please drop a comment. That's about all I got for today. See you next time.